Welcome students of class 5. Today we will continue with the EVS chapter, the world of plants. Yesterday we have completed up to the process of budding, and there we have discussed about the structure of seeds and also how the plants can grow into new plants. Okay, so today I will explain you about the germination process. Here what happens during germination, the embryo that is present inside the seed will develop into a new plant. So I told that one of the part of the seed is the embryo, which is located inside the seed, and from the embryo the new plant will come out. That process is called the germination, and this germination requires three conditions like water, oxygen and suitable temperature. Okay, so when the embryo develops into the new plant, that process is germination. What it needs during germination: water, oxygen and suitable temperature. So if the temperature is very high, then also the germination process will not take place and the seeds will die. And if the temperature is very low, the seeds will also not develop into the seedlings or the smaller plants. So a particular temperature is necessary for the growth of the seedling or the small plant. Okay, so all these conditions, if there will be no oxygen, then also the seed cannot germinate. So proper aeration or oxygenation is needed for the growth of the seedling, and water is also necessary. So one thing you can do at home as an activity, you can soak some seeds in water, and overnight you soak it in water, and then the next day you just remove the excess water and keep the moist seed covered with a piece of cotton cloth. And then after some time, you can see, after few hours, you can see small white colored seedlings coming out from the seeds. This is the process where we can see the embryo is developing into seedling, and after 2 days the seedlings will develop into small plants that will show leaves and roots. So this process is called what? Germination. When the seeds develop into a seedling, that process is called what? Germination. I hope it is clear now. The baby plant is called what? Seedling. Okay. Now I will tell you about the different parts of the seedling. The seedling has mainly two parts, the radicle and the plumule. Radicle grows under the soil and plumule grows above the soil. Radicles grows to become the root and plumule grows to become the stem. Okay, so one embryo develop into seedling will have two parts, radicle and plumule. This develops into root and plumule develops into the stem of the plant, which grows upwards towards the sunlight. Now, where from the seedling will get its fruit? The seedling will get its fruit from the cotyledons that is present in the seed. Yesterday's lecture was a detailed example. I showed you the example of the seeds. I have given some seeds as an example, the chickpeas and the kidney beans, and there you have seen the cotyledons. So all the seeds have cotyledons, some have one and some have two. So the seeds that grows into seedling will give their food to the seedling from where? From the cotyledons. The cotyledons are swollen and we can eat them. So their food is stored there, and growth of the seedling depends on the cotyledons. Okay, so the food will be given by the cotyledons to the growing seedling. And slowly, after a few days, the leaves will come out from the seedling. Then when the leaves are green, they will perform the process of photosynthesis and they will make their own food. Followed. So beginning of the process of germination means the growth of the seedling from the embryo of the plant, and the embryo will grow and develop into a new plant. It will get all its nutrition from the cotyledons, and then when the small leaves come out, then the leaves will be able to perform photosynthesis so that they can get their food. Okay, now when the seeds are planted very close to each other, then what can happen? There can be a lot of congestion, and overly populated seeds in a place will suffer because they will struggle for their food, their water and the sunlight. So many seeds, if you place it in a single pot, then there will be problem, there will be competition between the seeds. So in nature, the seeds can themselves scatter by ripening of the fruits. They can scatter away, and then they can automatically grow into the new plants in nature only. That means naturally they are adapted so that the seeds can be scattered, or they can be taken away by certain agents to different far off places, so that the overcongestion of the seeds cannot take place in a particular place. Okay, so what I mean to say is, if the seeds are planted very close or in a particular place, whether when the area is very less and you are putting a lot of seeds in that particular place, then the seeds will compete with each other for their living. Okay, and in order to live, they need what? Oxygen, they need water, they need sunlight. So they will compete, and whosoever will be the fittest one will stay, and other seeds cannot develop. So for that reason, the seeds have to be distributed to far off places or scattered to far off places, and naturally the seeds are adapted. The plant is also adapted so that the seeds can be scattered to far off places from the main plant. Okay, now I'll discuss about this process that is called what? The seed dispersal. What is the seed dispersal? The process of scattering the seeds from a particular place to another one is called the dispersal of seeds, or scattering of seeds, spreading of seeds. Why they will compete with each other? For nutrients, for water and sunlight, just now I told. So they are naturally adjusted. And there are different ways of dispersal also, which is called the natural propagation, by naturally how they are carried, the seeds, by the gravity. So some of the fruits ripen and they become mature and they fall off on the ground. So maybe due to the pull of gravity, they fall off towards the ground only. So when they fall on the ground, then what happens? The seeds may scatter on the ground itself, and even if they get the normal sufficient nutrients, then they can grow into the new plants. But maybe sometimes it can happen like that also, that they may not get the sufficient nutrients, so some of the seeds may not mature into the new plants. So this is one process, gravity. Second one is wind. Sometimes the seeds are carried away by the wind from one place to another. So for this, the seeds will have to be very light, and they would have hair and threads attached to their body, so that they can be blown away easily by the winds. So main features of the seeds that should be carried away by the wind will be hair and threads. And they also can be carried by the water. If there are aquatic plants or water plants like water lily and lotus, then those fruits will float on the water, and after some time they will sink, and so that their roots can develop. And from then, when the roots can develop from the soil, they can get a basic ground on the soil, then they will develop into the new plants. Okay, so fruits of the water lily and lotus will float on the water, and after some time they will sink. Then they grow into new plants after development of the roots. Similarly, the palm and coconut, which grows near the water or near the shores, they will also be carried away by the water to distant places where they can germinate. So why we are talking about all this? Because if the seeds are placed in a manner where they are all together, then they will suffer from the nutrient deficiency. They will be competing among themselves for nutrients, for water and for the sunlight. So for that reason, the seeds have to be transferred to far off places. This is called what? Dispersal or scattering of seeds. Another process can be done by the animals. The seeds can be taken by the animals to far off places. The animals and human beings, we all eat some fruits and then throw away the seeds here and there, which can grow into the new plants. And sometimes animals may eat the seeds too along with the fruits. So what happens? The seeds are not digested. They come out of the body of the animals in the form of the solid waste, and then they spread wherever the animal goes, and then the seed can grow into the new plant. So when the seed is not digested, they come outside the body of the animals in the form of the feces or solid waste matter. So this solid waste are thrown here and there when the animal travel from one place to another, and then the seed can grow into the new plants. And also, as you know, that cow dung increases the fertility of the soils. It also acts as the manure, so that they can easily grow, the seeds can easily grow in different areas. And sometimes also some of the fruits can get stuck to the animal skin, and then later again when the animal moves from one place to another, that fruit which has stuck on the skin of the animal may fall off to far off places. So these are certain ways by which the seeds are carried to far off places. And the one that is the explosion, sometimes when the seeds burst open from the fruits. Some fruits like the poppy, like peas, and then balsam, or the beans, sometimes when they are matured they burst open. When they are ripe they burst open and the seeds scatter here and there. And this method is also helpful in dispersal, because automatically the fruit ruptures and then the seeds scatter and are thrown here and there in the soil, where they can develop into the new plants. So these all processes are related to what? Seed dispersal. Okay. Now we will see that what are the plants that have come from far. Now various plants have come from far countries. Many of the plants, vegetables, fruits, many of the spices have come from different places all around the world. So they have been how they have been brought? They have been brought by different travelers, or maybe some of the invaders have brought them from different countries, and now they are growing here only. Like you can see the examples: potato, chili, maize, pineapples, tomato have come from Ethiopia. Previously they used to be grown in the Ethiopia, but now we are growing here. Potato, chilies, pineapples, tomatoes grow in India also now. Wheat in Egypt, and cloves and pepper from Indonesia, cinnamon from Sri Lanka, china tree from Greece, roses from China. So there are many like this which has come from the different countries, and now India is able to grow all this because they have traveled from different far off the countries, and now people of India are using this as a daily diet. Okay. And also roses, which are now grown in India everywhere. This is also originated from where? From China. Okay. Then again the story of tea. Tea is also, the origin of tea is also from China. They have been imported by British people, and then the British imported the tea leaves, and then they started the growing techniques in India. And mainly what happens, what the tea needs is a plenty of rainfall. So tea needs a plenty of rainfall, which happens in India also. But main thing that has to be followed while growing tea is the water should not be accumulated in the roots, or not collect near the roots. So the tea is grown in the hilly areas. Now I'll show you one thing, that in the hilly areas, like this is a slope of the hills, and tea plants can be grown in the slopes of the hills, and it needs a lot of rainfall. So whenever there is rainfall, the water cannot stand, because this is a slope. These are hilly areas, hilly slopes. So this is slope, that is the water will move towards the plain land. So water cannot stand in the roots, or they cannot collect near the roots of the tea. So the tea is planted in the hilly slope, and which receive heavy rainfall, but there will be drainage of water. The water cannot stand, because this is slope, like this is slope. So water cannot stand near the roots. The water will drain towards the plain land. So the tea plantation is very easy in the hilly areas. Okay. And then what happens after the tea is ready? The tea leaves are plucked, then they are collected. You all know this. Then they are dried and processed, and then they are packed to be sold. And which is the largest consumer of tea now? Indians are the largest consumers of tea, and India is one of the largest producers in the world. Which producers? So what you have studied today is the germination process, is the seed dispersal mechanism, and also we have studied about the plants that have come from far, and In conclusion, we have studied about the story of the tea. Okay, so this chapter was a very interesting one with a lot of information. Try to focus on each and every line of the chapter. Try to clear all the concept that I have given, because these are all important for your higher classes. And if you have any doubt, you can WhatsApp me in my number. Okay. And lastly, I would like to request all of you to just focus on your studies. Don't waste your time.